Tim Cook's smart exit. At least those are the highly credible rumors right now. Tim Cook may soon retire as Apple's CEO, and that's not bad news. It's a sign of strength. When Cook took over from Steve Jobs in 2011, Apple was worth about $300 billion. Today, it's valued around $3 trillion. That's a tenfold increase that created over $2.7 trillion in shareholder value. That makes Cook one of the most successful CEOs in history. He's up there with NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, whose company exploded from 10 billion to nearly 3 billion during the AI boom. Now at 65, Cook has led Apple through its most innovative era, according to some, launching the expansion of Apple Watches, AirPods, Apple Pay, Apple TV Plus. But even extraordinary leaders slow down. Research shows creativity and cognitive flexibility decline modestly after age 60. Cook's final act of brilliance may be knowing when to hand over power while Apple is still at its peak. What's the real message here? Hey, old guys, you can step aside occasionally. Congratulations to Tim Cook, who seems to be self-aware enough to know, I'm not invincible. I'm not going to live forever. I've had a good run. Now let me turn over the keys to someone younger. We need more people to do like that in government and elsewhere. Let's dig a little deeper here. I'm not saying Tim Cook is over the hill and isn't competent anymore, but there is something very likable about the fact that someone says, hey, I'm not indispensable. The world can get along without me. That's kind of refreshing. Too often people become either the CEO or the president of something or of a government. They're like, the world cannot get along without me. I will never leave. There is an African president right now who's 92 years old. He's been in power seemingly forever, doesn't want to leave at all. Now, let's look at some of the facts here. It is important to point out the median CEO age these days is 58. Tim Cook will soon be 65. And now he hasn't officially announced this, but it's come from so many credible sources. And Apple is so tight-lipped about things. You have to think that there is something there. He is, in fact, going to retire. Right now, Apple appears to be grooming John Ternus, age 50, as the likely successor. That's roughly how old Tim Cook was when he took over from Steve Jobs. Part of being great is knowing when to let go, when to leave, when to retire. Now, I'm sure Tim Cook will still be active. I'm sure he'll be on the board. He'll be investing in 1 million startups. He'll be giving speeches. He'll be writing books. He's not exactly going to sit back in the rocker at an old folks home. But being the CEO of arguably one of the top, number one, number two, number three companies in the entire world, and all the employees, all the shareholders, that's tremendous, tremendous pressure. And it is a simple fact that a 65-year-old does not have the same resilience as a 50-year-old, doesn't bounce back the same after those transcontinental flights, those overnights to China and back. I could tell you, I like to think I'm in better shape than average. I run every day. I do aerobic exercise every day. I would lift weights every day. I can tell you at age 62, my endurance is not the same as it was at 50, 38. That's for certain. My ability to even stay up late is not the same. And you can say, well, TJ, that's just you. Guess what? It is most people after the age of 60. The idea of running one of the most important companies in the entire world, thousands and thousands of people reporting to you, and being as good as you were at 50, it strains credulity. Now, you can point to examples of like Warren Buffett, who, by the way, has announced his official retirement within the next year, and who is roughly 189 years old. That's a little bit different because while Berkshire Hathaway is a huge publicly traded company, it's really kind of more like a mutual fund, frankly. It holds stakes in other companies. The number of employees that Warren Buffett actually has to manage is minuscule compared to what Tim Cook does. So I don't think that analogy holds. So as I mentioned to you, I was watching Evita last night with my family, but at about 8:45, I was ready to go to sleep. My 12-year-old daughter was ready to go to sleep. And we figured, you know what, let's break up the movie into part one and part two. We're going to watch the second half tonight. Why is that relevant? It's because if you're going to be the CEO of a publicly traded company, you have to have energy. Not that you don't ever deserve a good night's sleep, but there could be a crisis in one of your factories on the other side of the world where people are injured, died, regulatory issues, protests. You may have to get up at 2 a.m. and deal with it. That becomes increasingly harder as you age. It's just biology. You can talk all you want to about how let's not be age discriminatory. You know who doesn't discriminate against age? Biology. And it's a simple matter that you do get less likely to bounce back when you lose sleep. Your energy levels are not the same, although by all accounts, he is in extraordinarily good shape. Starts his day at something like 3:45 in the morning, working out for an hour a day. But even he knows his limits. Now, Tim Cook has been criticized by many who say, well, look, Steve Jobs did all the creativity, the iPod, the iPhone, the tablets, the thing I'm using right now for my teleprompter, their fantastic tablet. All that happened under Steve Jobs, the iMac. What did Tim Cook ever create? Well, it's not quite that simple. He is responsible largely for the AirPods, Apple Pay, TV, so many other things. And again, the biggest thing of all, if you're a shareholder, and I am indirectly through index funds, I don't own it directly myself. But to take a company worth $300 billion, which was huge 14 years ago, but to turn it into something now worth $3 trillion, that puts him in rarefied atmosphere. That puts him up there with the Jensen Huangs of the world and the Jeff Bezoses of the world. It's an extraordinarily elite club. And Tim Cook deserves the praise. He deserves the credit. And I think it's smart of him to go out on top on his own terms rather than waiting for a couple of down quarters, a stock market going down, and enemies circling saying, retire, get rid of this guy, get rid of the bum, because it could easily happen at some point. His stewardship has been remarkable. There's been extraordinary growth in revenues during his tenure and extraordinary growth in how the market values the company. And I hope that more people in leadership positions, are you paying attention, Washington, D.C.? I hope more people in senior level positions follow up on his example. And then if you are a senator or a president or a CEO of a publicly traded company, you don't have to just sit back and knit. You don't have to play backgammon all day. Join me in the podcasting world. You don't really have to manage people. If you're not 100% alert, take a nap and then do your podcast. The stakes are much lower. Your capacity for damage is much smaller. So, Tim, perhaps I'll see you as a fellow YouTuber and TikToker and podcaster, but I wish you well regardless of what you do.